It was a quiet afternoon in a small village tucked between distant hills. The wind moved slowly through the trees, as if even nature was holding its breath. A young man named Kaito sat near the edge of a crumbling stone bridge, staring into the stream below. His thoughts were louder than the birdsong or the rustling leaves. Tomorrow, he would have to make a choice, one that could change everything. The uncertainty felt like a weight pressing on his chest. What if he chose wrong? What if he failed? What if the life he imagined stayed forever out of reach? His friends laughed in the distance, carefree and loud. But Kaito couldn't join them, not when his future looked like a stormy sky, full of shadows and unknowns. He wished for answers. He wished for certainty. But mostly he wished the fear would stop, just for a while. That night, sleep did not come easily. Kaito lay awake, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling. Each hour that passed only added to his anxiety. His heart pounded not because something terrible had happened, but because nothing had. And yet, everything might. The future wasn't a story already written. It was a blank page. And that frightened him more than failure itself. He remembered the words of his teacher from years ago. The future is always unknown, but it's only dangerous if you let fear write it. At the time, Kaito had laughed. Now those words echoed like thunder in his chest. He tried to imagine success, but fear always came first. It whispered, "What if you're not enough? What if you fall? What if everyone sees you fail?" These thoughts had no proof, no logic, only volume. And somehow that was enough to hold him back. He wanted to be brave, but his thoughts kept pulling him into doubt. The next morning, Kaito found himself frozen in front of a mirror, buttoning his shirt for another day at work. But he wasn't really seeing himself. He was seeing a version of him that always fell short, never smart enough, never fast enough, never ready. He kept replaying every mistake he'd made last year. How he stayed quiet in that meeting. How he missed the promotion. How he avoided that difficult conversation. And as those thoughts flooded in, they became louder than reality itself. He wasn't just doubting his future. He was reliving a fear that hadn't even come true yet. The more he thought about what could go wrong, the less he felt capable of doing anything right. It wasn't failure that was holding him back. It was the story his mind kept telling. You won't make it. Don't even try. If this story speaks to you, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. This might be the reminder your mind needs. That evening, as the city lights flickered on like stars trapped beneath glass, Kaito sat in a quiet corner of a tea house. Across from him was an old monk he had met only once before, an acquaintance of his grandfather. The monk stirred his tea slowly and looked at Kaito, sensing the weight behind his silence. Without being asked, he said, "Do you know why our minds fear the future? Because it cannot control what hasn't happened yet." Kaito raised an eyebrow. The monk continued, "The mind loves to pretend it's in charge. It builds stories, outcomes, disasters, anything to keep itself feeling important. But control is an illusion, and your fear is the smoke it blows to hide the truth, that you are not your thoughts." Kaito looked down, unsure how to respond, but something about the monk's voice felt like truth spoken from the edge of a mountain. Steady, timeless, and impossible to ignore. The monk gently placed a teacup in front of Kaito, filled just halfway. Then, without saying a word, he began pouring more tea. The liquid overflowed, spilling onto the wooden table. Kaito leaned forward in alarm. "It's full," he said. The monk nodded. "Just like your mind," he replied. "You came here filled with fear, worry, and expectations. There's no room left for anything else. No clarity, no peace." Kaito watched the tea drip slowly off the edge, something simple yet profound sinking in. The monk handed him a clean, empty cup. "Try again," he said. "But this time, bring emptiness. Bring silence." Kaito hesitated, then placed the cup in front of him. In that moment, the monk didn't just teach him a lesson. He gave him a tool, not to control the future, but to meet it empty, ready.
Kaito closed his eyes and held the empty cup in his hands. He felt the warmth left behind by the tea, even though it was gone. The monk asked him to breathe, slowly, deeply. "Now," the monk said, "imagine pouring your thoughts out like that tea. Let every fear drip away. Let your expectations spill over. You don't need to hold it all." Kaito struggled. Thoughts kept coming back. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? The monk remained silent, only watching. Kaito noticed how still the monk was, like a stone in the river, untouched by the current. He tried again, one breath, then another, then silence. Not a forced silence, but one that came naturally, like dusk falling over the mountains. For the first time, he didn't try to fix the fear. He just watched it, like watching clouds pass. And in that simple stillness, something shifted. The fear wasn't gone, but it was no longer in control. Kaito opened his eyes. The world hadn't changed, but something inside him had. He didn't feel fearless. He felt aware. Aware that fear was a visitor, not a master. Aware that he didn't have to run or fight it, only notice it. The monk handed him back the empty cup. "This," he said, "is how you must live, with space inside. A full mind cannot see clearly. An empty one sees everything." Kaito looked around. Trees, breeze, birds. Nothing was perfect, but nothing needed to be. He smiled for the first time, not because he was happy, but because he was free. He understood now. Fear isn't an enemy to be destroyed, but a shadow that fades when you shine a light on it. And that light comes from within. He bowed to the monk, not as a student to a teacher, but as one awakened soul to another. The journey ahead might still be uncertain, but for now, in this moment, he had clarity. And sometimes that's all we need. That night, under the open sky, Kaito sat quietly by the river. The monk had long returned to his silent hut, and Kaito was alone, but not lonely. The breeze whispered through the leaves, as if the universe itself was exhaling. For the first time, he wasn't trying to escape the future. He wasn't obsessing over what might go wrong. He simply was. And in that stillness, he realized something profound. Most of the pain we suffer never really happens. It only exists in our imagination, rehearsed 1,000 times in the theater of our mind. The future will always be unknown, but your mind doesn't have to be. You can return to the present, to clarity, anytime. Kaito let out a slow breath, smiled, and watched the moonlight ripple across the water. Then let me ask you something. If fear is just a story we tell ourselves, why do we keep telling it? If your fear is a lie you've repeated for years, what would happen if you stopped believing it, right now?